Why would someone listen to the voice of a robber? I mean, he's obviously a bad guy. He's lying to us. Just think. He didn't come in via the gate. He had to sneak in with lies. He's only here to steal and destroy. When you look at him, he's comically evil. He's twirling his mustache. If you just think about it for a second, you'd be able to tell following this guy is a bad decision. But that's the issue. The sheep, they aren't thinking. When you call someone a sheep, it's not saying they have intellectual depth to them. Sheep just follow forward, which can be good or bad, depending upon who they choose to follow and where they choose to go. In order to know where to go, you have to be able to think, which is our theme for our final homily series ever. Last week, thinking backwards, we heard Christ walk with the disciples and look backwards with them. They were anoetois, non-thinking people, but Christ helped them to put all the pieces of the puzzle together and see how God was at work. We talked about the power of coal to unfreeze our past and give us hearts that burn with love, curiosity, openness, acceptance, and love. And because they're able to think backwards, they're able to bring the message of Christ's resurrection to the apostles. And this week, we're talking about how to think forwards. And this is really hard for us because just as thinking backwards incorrectly can freeze us in depression, thinking forwards in the wrong way can freeze us through anxiety. There are just so many unknowns about the future. We talked weeks ago about how our unlimited potential can become this unlimited burden on our souls. So, how do we think forward well? We need to learn how to discern between the voice of the robber and the voice of the shepherd. The robber speaks to your selfish desires. The robber calls you to deeper comfort, whereas the shepherd speaks to your selfless heart. The shepherd calls you out of your comfort zone into mission. The robber will tell you many good things, like, hey, we have this great pasture over here. Come follow me. You should come here and do sheep things like frolic and eat grass and go baa. Whereas the voice of the shepherd says something that's a little bit different. He says, I love you, and one day I'm going to kill you. I love you, and one day I'm going to ask for your life. Because the shepherd, with deep, 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 deep love for his sheep, knows that the sheep have a purpose. And it's not just wool. Sheep are meant for wool and lamb chops and falafels and shawarma and kebabs and shepherd's pies and other sheep-related products, with the best sheep being given over to sacrifice in the temple. The shepherd knows that the sheep exist for a purpose, that we exist for a purpose. And fulfilling that purpose, that's what brings true joy to the sheep. Now, imagine you are a sheep. Who will you listen to? The guy who promises endless pastures, or the guy who promises endless ways to cook you? Because in the moment, it may seem like the robber's the good guy. He's promising all these good things, but ultimately, the robber is not here to give you life. He's here to steal and destroy. He will take your life for something far less. You'll pour out your whole self for something that doesn't matter. Mere pleasure, mere money, mere fame, mere glory, they may seem to make us happy, but ultimately, they'll leave us feeling empty. Whereas the good shepherd, who says you must take up your cross daily and die living a life that most matters, or live a life that's empty. Because what's scariest to us giving up one's whole life, dying, that's actually what's going to fulfill you. The robber tells you, stay the same. The shepherd tells you to move forward. And when we think about the future, we can be tempted to listen to the voice of the robber. Because our two options for the future is to embrace the sacrifice or embrace the lies that we don't have to sacrifice. We can become full, mature adults who generously love and generously pour ourselves out unto God, family, and neighbor, and be abundantly happy. Or we can forever remain children who are never satisfied. One of the problems in our generation is that we remain children later and later in life. Just think, when are you an adult? People don't see themselves as adults until they're like 36, I'll get there next year and let you guys know. What happens in our culture is that what is sought is not responsibility, not commitment, not true sacrifice. What is sought is just childishness, fulfilling your selfish desires with no concern for those around you. There's this idea called the pueri aeternus, the eternal child. The pueri aeternus is the one that refuses to grow up, the one who sees future responsibilities as a burden, any obligation, a restriction, and our model is not the good shepherd that lays down his life for his sheep, but rather Peter Pan, the boy who never grows up, the one that's always young, always energetic, but he never finds a home, never finds a family, never finds a purpose in life beyond playing mindless games with the Lost Boys. He lives forever in Neverland because he never lands, he never commits. The voice of the robber spoke into his heart. Impossible endless pastures, going bah forever. And instead of maturing, becoming an adult, he chooses to just play games forever. So, when I think of the future, what do I see? Do I just see threats and limits to my happiness? Or do I see opportunities to love, to give? That having a 9-to-5 job, doing household chores, paying taxes, sacrificing for my family, these are opportunities to love. They're not counter my happiness. They're the substance through which I can be happy, which I can sacrifice, which I can live. But in this moment, as you look down the barrel of responsibility and commitment of the future, we can feel uneasiness. So, how can we grow up? How can we see the future? Well, the thing that causes boys and girls to become men and women is love. Peter Pan, once he met Wendy, he began to grow up. That when you're in love, you don't care about sacrifice. You're in love. For our men, who can be childish sometimes, it's the love of the lady that motivates them to embrace suffering. For our ladies, who can be childish sometimes, it's the love of a man that brings them to be willing to nurture their family. That I want to be better for my beloved. They rely on me, and I want to sacrifice for them. That just as coal power helps us to think backwards and find peace, it's nuclear power that helps us to think forwards and find joy. What's nuclear power? It's when two radioactive elements are held together. And just by the fact that they're close, this absolute energy is released. When the barrier between two hearts is removed, when you hold them together, there's this great spiritual power that can radically re-alter one's priority. Someone that's in love, they stop seeing the cost. They stop seeing sacrifice. They just see beauty and they act with beauty. The voice of the robber speaks to your comforts and makes the future scary and paralyzes you. The voice of the shepherd speaks to your calling. He says your name and he makes your future beautiful. Because yes, he will ask for your life, but you're going to want to give it. For this week, I have 2 tips about how to think about the future through nuclear power. Tip 1, no one comes to college to stay there forever. You are all here to leave. At college, you prepare for your future. At Mass, we come to go forth and proclaim the gospel. That no moment is purely for self. That you are a gift and you're meant to be given. You are here to prepare yourself to be given in the future. So ask, what can I do to nourish that gift? Because your future does not start later. Your future is just the present moment forever, In seminary, there's a phrase, don't take a vacation from your vocation. That yes, summer's a time to rest, to recharge. It's not a time to veg. So ask yourself, during summer, how will I grow in my vocation? I have a handout at the door that asks 3 questions. Over the summer, how will I love God more? Over the summer, how will I love my neighbor more? Over the summer, how will I love myself more? So that by the end of the summer, I will be blank and better able to love God, neighbor, and self. These aren't just future things that weigh you down, but present calls to grow in love that challenge me, yes, beyond my comfort zone, but they fulfill my heart. So take the paper, fill it out. And tip 2, create some nuclear power in your own life. Take your heart and hold it close to the sacred heart of Jesus. Just see what happens. I'm here today because the Lord got hold of my heart. I didn't ask what would the priesthood look like. I just loved the Lord, and He loved me. After every Mass, I would spend 10 minutes praying, putting the commune into communion. In high school, I would stop by the chapel every day before lunch because 1, I hated lines, but 2, I loved Jesus. The change in my heart of just being with Him, that's what brought me here to you today. So just follow the Lord. Hold your heart to His heart and receive nuclear power. When you give your heart to the Lord, the future is not scary. It's beautiful. The Good Shepherd looks upon you with love and says, I will take your life. But in that same love, I say, Lord, I will give my life. It's not a sacrifice. It's not a burden. It's not an agony. It's a joy. Your future wife will look upon you and say, I love you, and I'll take your life. Your future children will look upon you and say, I love you, and I'll take your life. Your future parish, since a quarter of you will become priests, they'll say to you, I love you, and I will take your life. And today, the Good Shepherd says, I love you, and I'll take your life. But in return, you will have true life and have it more abundantly. God bless.